And Draganski, in 2004, in Nature, reported a study where they taught people to juggle and looked at what this did to their brains. So they measured these people's brains before they could juggle. Then half of these people spent 3 months learning to juggle while the other 3 didn't. They measured their brains again. And then they said, okay, you don't need to juggle for the next 3 months. And the people who'd learned to juggle said, phew, or oh, depending. And after 3 months, the juggling group, they had basically forgotten how to do it. They measured their brains again. So we've got brain measurement, acquire a skill, measure your brain, forget the skill, measure your brain in the juggling group. And the graph down here shows the relative percentage change in different areas of the brain. So time 1, you can see it's on 0, because that's where we're taking as our baseline, and people were scattered around it within the juggling group. When they had learnt to juggle at scan 2, these bits of the brain that are highlighted in yellow had got bigger by nearly 3% on average. And then 3 months later, when they were forgetting how to juggle, it's starting to go back to where it began. It's going away again. So here we can see not only that a bit of your brain develops as you learn a skill, getting bigger, as in the taxi drivers, but as you're forgetting it, all the other important things you're learning sees that matter back again, sees the space back. The neurons lose their myelin, get shorter, the connections die off. That bit of the brain shrinks, and the other bits of the brain fill the void. So the brain is a very plastic thing. There are other studies showing similar things in people playing the violin. Acquisition of a skill can radically change the local volume of the brain. So if we go back to our genetic determinism thing, this assumption that differences in genes drive differences in the brain, which drive differences in IQ and behaviour, turns out to be false. We can discard this idea. Differences in IQ and behaviour are actually leading to differences in the brain. So if you observe a relationship between brain size and IQ, it doesn't mean that a big brain has caused the IQ and that the genes are therefore causing intelligence. It's the other way around. Differences in what you do in life change your brain size. And so do your genes. Maybe your genes do influence your behaviour, but they're not doing it necessarily through the structure of your brain. Your brain is a very plastic organ. So in conclusion, it's hard to define what we mean by brain size. Many different ways of counting it. It could be neurons, could be white cells, grey cells. Not all of the brain is neurons. So it's no good just having a big brain if we're measuring the fluid within it, for example. It's hard to define intelligence. Not all research is into intelligence, except that G, that general factor, is the best way to measure it. Different theorists of intelligence have different ways of measuring intelligence. And anyway, intelligence is a statistical construct. It's one where we take a test that rank orders people and assume that it follows all of these normal distribution laws. We scale the results from the intelligence test to produce that result. But mainly when we look at the studies here, researchers into this area often have dubious motives. Look behind the science to see what are these people arguing? Why are they doing this? What else have they published? And you'll find that often brain size is a surrogate, a code to look at sex differences or race differences. That's what they're really interested in. But importantly, there's a statistical and inferential point here. Finding an association between two variables does not mean that one causes the other. Correlation is not causation. We've seen a correlation here between brain size and intelligence. It does not mean that brain size causes a larger intelligence. Similarly, we saw a correlation between IQ and future pay in an earlier lecture. It doesn't mean that your IQ entitles you to a larger wage. I wish it did. It doesn't. Your IQ affects your educational attainment. Your educational attainment affects your job prospects. Your job prospects affect your IQ. Your income. The causal relationship is very complicated there. But importantly, neural region size varies with use. Doing intelligent things might make bits of your brain bigger. And so perhaps we should believe this myth.